I'm fucking crashing out.
Because it really sucks. And I'm just sitting here trying to eat this sticky tofu that I made from a recipe on TikTok, and it's so good. It tastes so good. But now I just my body is rejecting it, and I'm crying, and I have to put this in my nose, and it just there's too much flavor, you know?
Hello brothers and sisters, I really hope you're all doing fine from wherever you are watching me from. Now, this white lady called the ICE team to come and raid or deport the undocumented immigrants in her neighborhood. Now, these are the same people who have been working in their farms. These are the same people who have been working 2 to 3 shifts to pay their rent or to pay their mortgage. Why will you want them deported out of your country? The same people who have been showing up in your farms and working at a cheaper price or rendering cheap labor. Now, do you know who are calling her out? The same white people are calling her out for her bad behavior. So let's watch this video, then have a really quick discussion at the end of it. Thank you so much.
I am seeing so many people finally waking up and seeing how fucked up our country is. And I have a really big reminder for folks who are just now starting to wake up to what's going on, or just started waking up in the last few years. There are a lot of people who understand this fight a lot better than you do, that have been organizing this resistance so much longer. One of the most humbling experiences I've had is just realizing how many more people have been in this fight so much longer than me. I've been in activism for about a decade, and that's nothing. There is so much I don't know and don't understand about the centuries-old fight many people, especially marginalized people of color, are Black folks, Indigenous folks. There is so much we don't know about their struggles. And they have been the core of this resistance we're all just now fucking joining. Because this country was never set up to benefit them. Us white-skinned folks have had the opportunity and the advantage to be able to fucking ignore that, because it hasn't hurt us personally until pretty recently. If you're super fired up about wanting to do things and make a change, look to the people who've been doing this a really long time, who understand the problems. Because they also have the solutions you're looking for that you have no idea are even out there. This country has always been set up to benefit powerful, rich, white men at the expense of everybody else. The very foundation and roots of this country are that. And the only way to move forward past this is to get those rotten roots plucked out, ripped out, and build something completely new. And I encourage all of you to read this book. It is very thick. It is all of the history they did not want us learning. Because history is written from the perspective of the oppressors. The people in charge get to dictate how history is written and whose messages get to be erased. And they get to dictate whose side of the story gets to be told and whose doesn't and gets buried. And they've been trying really fucking hard to cover up this information. They do not want you reading this shit. The United States has caused so many people so much indescribable levels of trauma and pain that are still affecting us right now. I think absolutely every single white person in this country needs to read this book. It will change your entire life and your entire...
Stitch this and tell me what you think the reasons are that people are homeless in America right now.
Corporate greed. That's it. That everything else that I can say, whether it's the cost of housing and renting, food prices, medical, mental health care not being available, rehabilitation services not being available or affordable, all of it comes down to corporate greed. The American dream is, how can I step on other people's necks in order to make myself a millionaire or a billionaire? And that leaves a lot of people homeless.
So there's no doubt that it's rough out there for most Americans right now. Many people are drowning in debt. They have no savings. They're paycheck to paycheck. If they lost their job, they'd be screwed. They don't know where their next dollar would come from, right? And that's a problem. That is definitely a problem. And the reality is, Americans need to make more money. And I don't know what's going to happen, man. The economy is kind of screwed up right now. Inflation's going up, but wages aren't matching inflation, and people are, like I said, drowning. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to give here, guys, but ultimately, people need to make more money. You have to find a side hustle, increase your skills, and make it your financial mission to save more money. Make more money, save more money. Don't spend as much as you make, right? It's hard. Well, I guess it's simple when you say it out loud, but it's really hard to put in practice. What do you guys think?
Silent depression. When you compare the Great Depression to today, this is going to absolutely blow your mind. In 1930, during the Great Depression, the average home in America was $3,900. The average car was $600, and the average monthly rent was $18 or $216 a year, and the average salary was $1,300 for the year. Fast forward to today, it is $436,000 for the average home, 48 grand for the average car, and the average rent is $2,000 a month or $24,000 a year, and we have a $56,000 income for the average American right now. So if you look back to the Great Depression, the house was only 3 times the average salary. Now it is 8 times the average salary. The car was 46% of the salary. The car today is 85% of the salary. And here's the craziest part. The rent was 16% of the average salary. It is now 42% of the average salary.
So you know these wealthy people who live on minimum wage for a month to gain empathy and perspective? That's a nice little gesture and all, but I don't think these folks actually understand that you can't gain perspective on the lifelong devastating effects of poverty by eating rice and beans for a month. Those folks will still never understand what it's like to drop out of school because you don't have enough money. They will never understand what it's like to have more kids than you can afford. They will never understand what it's like to have long-term devastating health impacts on your body from food insecurity. They will never understand housing insecurity and the threat of being kicked out on the street. They will not be able to understand foregoing getting health care and going to the doctor because you can't afford it. In a month's time, you can't understand not having capital to support a business and follow your dreams because you don't have the bandwidth and the resources or the support system. And in a month's time, you can't understand not having wealthy friends who will open doors for you. The lesson here is that people in poverty have experiences that are inaccessible to wealthy people. So instead of eating rice and beans for a month and posting it on social media, why don't you actually ask people in poverty what they need?
Hi, this is Attorney Davis responding to your comment. And as I mentioned before in the original video, yes, statistically speaking, white people are the biggest beneficiary of welfare programs. And I just want to drop some knowledge on you. Not on you specifically, but on the original comment, the person that posted it. All right, so a little bit about me is that prior to becoming an attorney, my trade actually is economics. I'm an economist by trade and education-wise. In fact, I was going to work on Wall Street prior to becoming an attorney, but I wound up becoming an attorney. Now that that's out the way, let's get to the raw statistics. All right, so white people are the biggest beneficiaries of welfare. White people make up about just about a little bit over 40% of welfare, being recipients of welfare. Another 25.7% is made up by African Americans. Approximately 10.3 are Hispanic.
One of the things I'm starting to realize is that during this particular time in history, during this unrest, if you will, the situation that is taking place and unfolding is very extreme, very serious, and it's not to be taken lightly. Our government is in shambles in a way that we have not experienced in some time in this country. And so when I say this, I'm not trying to be dismissive of those things and the things that are taking place. I want to caveat that before anybody says anything. I want to be clear that me, myself, I have to be extremely discerning about where I'm getting my information from here on TikTok, or rather who I'm getting my information from. And the reason for that is every time I see a palm-colored person on my timeline screaming at the top of their lungs or shaking or blinking or feeling some sort of fear, and regurgitating that back to me in words, right? What they're feeling. I have to remember that for them, this is the first time they've actually had to experience the consequences of their either action or inaction. Because for a long time, they've told us to forget race, to move on, that it's not a race issue. And for even longer than that, they were saying it's not even a class issue, that you just got to bootstraps and work harder and you just hate rich people. And now that the consequences of either them pretending that nothing is political or them voting in a manner with their whiteness, now they're suffering the consequences. And it's been painfully aware for me for a while now, but I could better articulate it, that while I am absolutely devastated at the loss of not having Kamala Harris as our president, because she's a serious person, I've been reading her book. We missed out on the amazingness that this American country could have been. I am gleefully, unfortunately, but gleefully happy that the country is experiencing the tyranny and the terror it has rained upon people of color for forever. Because now they want you to care about class. Now the white people, you've been screaming at the top of your lungs saying, hey, life's kind of unfair here, guys. They want you to worry about class. Oh, it's about class. It's never not been about class. It's just happened to be about class and race for most black people or people of color. They can't avoid the topic. It is negatively impacting their day-to-day life, their ability to succeed. And now that it's affecting white people, I have to remember that every time they come on my screen, no shade to you who are relaying information, but every time they come on my screen and they're saying, this is the worst thing ever, this is horrible, this is this, I have to remember that that is a person who typically does not experience the consequences that the country puts everybody else through. Or somebody who's convinced themselves, at least, that the things that happen politically don't really affect them. So while they're bad, they're morally wrong, they might feel bad even, like, oh, I really hate that these people are experiencing. They go about their day as normal and they say things like, well, I don't want my politics to be all about who I am. I don't want politics in my business. I don't want politics in my hobbies. I don't want politics in my food. I don't want politics in my TV. Like, I just want to step back from politics. They can't step back now. And they're screaming because there's no safe place for them to go to stick their head in the sand and ignore what is taking place. And again, this is not me ragging on white people. But again, as somebody who's black, I have to remember this is not the worst it's ever been. And unfortunately, until we fix our race and class problem, this is not the worst it's going to ever be. Because as my mother has always said, those who don't listen will feel. Okay? Those who did not adhere to the words of the Black Americans who are putting their body, life, and limb on the line to have rights in this country that white people, white women, white children benefit from, they did not listen to us. They took everything we said as, there they go again. There the black people go again, arguing about something, talking about some injustice. We don't care about that. We just want to live your life. Now you live your life. But you're living your life under a presidency, under an administration that does not care about the color of your skin. You will all suffer equally. Now we're all on equal footing. Because now all of a sudden there's a housing crisis now that white people can't buy houses. Now all of a sudden education is a problem because now white people don't have the opportunity to acquire access to education as easily as they were doing before. Now it's a problem, right? Now it's a problem because they can't buy their food adequately. These have always fundamentally been problems for the people in lower classes or people of color. This has always been an uphill battle that we have to overcome in our day-to-day lives. We cannot live in a world where politics doesn't matter because it does not allow that.
This is my observation, and I could be wrong. I'm probably not, though. You know how typically for Caucasian people, they have to experience something in order to gain empathy for it. So for, the decades that we've watched Black men and women on camera be murdered, both by police and other scenarios, in front of their kids, in front of their wives, all these kind of things, both innocent, some not, whatever. And it's pretty much been stuff happens and like, what do you want us to do about it? And it's like, one Caucasian man gets shot on camera and it's like, what is even happening? Because ultimately they see themselves in that person who looks like them, right? No different than when I, against my will, see a Black person murdered, I see myself in them. But typically for Black people, we just have empathy for all people and not just when it happens to us, right? Kind of like,
you'll have very racist white people, and then it's like they have a black grandchild, so it's like, oh, I guess black people aren't that bad because now there's someone I love who's black. It's like, has to personally happen to them. Do you guys remember when like the talk shows of the 90s used to put people in fat suits and send them out, and because they were bullies or whatever, and then they would come back like crying, like, oh my God, people are just mean for no reason because I'm still Cindy. And it's like, no, yeah, people are mean to fat people. Yeah, they get treated like shit. So you had to put a fat suit on to know that? You couldn't see? You didn't believe your friends who were fat, who told you for years that they get treated poorly? You didn't watch it when you hung out with your fat friends, if you have any, that the waiter only talked to you or, whatever have you. And so I'm just like, what would it take? I think it would literally take white people literally living in our bodies. I don't even think it would take a day, and I say that as a really privileged black woman who's socially well off, conventionally attractive to most people or whatever, and came from a 2-parent home. My dad taught me financial literacy. I went to college. I have a degree. I played sports in college. I have a 6-figure job. Like, I'm actually very privileged. I'm doing okay. But I still live life as a black woman in America. And what's so insane is that we're so desensitized to the treatment that I actually think it's okay. Like, I go about my life with all these microaggressions throughout the day, and it rolls off.
I don't understand how they don't know that that is social services. Because even if you gave the worst synopsis of social services, which would be like lazy people getting money from the government, you, for some reason, are going and getting money from the government. And I know you're not lazy, but what would you call that? Like, do they think... Like, if they called it a state program, would they think it was different than social services? That's basically the same word. It conveys the same thing, does it not? Social services. Services that are for society. State program. A program for the state. What would that entail? A governing body doing something for the society or the state. How do their minds not just do that automatically? Is that a skill?
A homeless millennial lives in a rental Prius because he can't afford a place to rent, despite working over 50 hours a week. Content creator Tyler Amadeus, who goes by @TheNomadicMillennial on TikTok, shared that he's been homeless for over 100 days and can't qualify for an apartment in most U.S. states, despite his more than full-time hours. He works hard every day, all while dealing with anxiety and depression, and still lives in a rental car that he doesn't even own. In his videos, he questions how we've gotten to the point where even households with 2 working adults sometimes can't make enough money to make ends meet. Add to that the fact that the Labor Department reported that nearly 8.4 million people held multiple jobs in October 2023, and experts explained that people may be working extra in response to inflation. A full 54% of Americans have added a side hustle to supplement their primary income just to try and keep their heads above water. Even with all of that extra work and supplemental income, half of American renters still struggle with housing costs, according to a 2024 Harvard study. While rents do vary based on location, the average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in the United States is $1,713. Often, these rentals require tenants to make 3 times the monthly rent, ask for first and last month's rent up front, and require security deposits, putting housing out of reach for many Americans. In his videos, Amadeus urges people to challenge the status quo, as well as see who's running in upcoming local elections and vote, and then hold politicians to their promises. Because in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, no one should have to live.
So I get an email this morning from my work being like, so we put in the incorrect bank information because I just started working there and this is gonna be my first payment. Like, we put in the wrong bank information, so sign into the app and fix it. Otherwise, we have to mail you a check, which is going to take an extra 2 weeks. And I can't sign in the app. I've tried everything. I've tried every username and password, whatever. I went into work today. It's not letting me clock in. I know sometimes they won't let you clock in for 5 minutes. It was 5 minutes for my Clocking time, I tried clocking in, didn't work. I tried clocking in at the regular time, 4 o'clock, didn't work. So I'm like, I started thinking about it, and then I'm like, wait, did they tell me the wrong... I think I wrote down the wrong day. I think I'm supposed to work tomorrow and not today. So I went to the manager. I'm like, am I working today? He's like, oh, no. I'm like, oh, but while I'm here, it won't let me sign into the app. He's like, oh, you have to put this in front of your username. I did, and it's still not working, so I can't fix my payment thing. So my younger brother drove me to work because I don't have a license. My younger brother drove me to work, and I call him. It goes straight to voicemail. I'm like, great. So I have to call my older brother. Hey, can you come pick me up? He comes to pick me up, and then I got home, and my younger brother's like, why didn't you call me? I said, I did. It went to voicemail. He goes, oh, yeah, I blocked you because you were annoying me. And then I asked my dad, what are we having for dinner? It's one of my least favorite meals. He said, oh, we're having pasta, chicken, and vegetables. And I'm like, great, fabulous. He's like, oh, well, I thought you weren't going to be here tonight because I thought you were going to work, so I didn't make burgers tonight. I'm like, okay, well, did you buy me a microwave meal at the grocery store? Because me and my siblings are old enough that we can eat something else that my parents don't make. So my dad usually buys me a microwave meal in case I don't, because I'm a picky eater, in case I don't like something he makes. I said, oh, did you get me a microwave meal? He said, yeah, I got you beefaroni. I said to him, I told you 1,000 times I don't like beefaroni. And he said, well, that's all they had. Like, then why did you get anything? Anyways, this has been the worst day of my life. It's 1,000 degrees outside. I don't know what I'm gonna have for dinner. I should be getting paid almost $700.
Well, here's the thing. I thought y'all believed in free market capitalism. And free market capitalism is the government don't uphold you. See, the government has been subsidizing these white farmers forever. And when the black farmers say, hey, well, subsidize us too. Nah, we're not subsidizing you like the white ones. We're not doing it. We may give you a few crumbs, but we're not doing it like the white farmers. And black farmers forever have not gotten any subsidies in amount have white farmers have gotten. Number two, all that land that these white people got to farm, a lot of it was stolen from black people. Let's call that what it is. Because we know they just didn't come into all this land to farm. All these millions of acres of land they have. Black folks lost their millions of acres of land. It's not they lost it because they just did bad business or sold it. That's number two. Number three, your exports. Let's talk about that. Because Trump instituted tariffs, especially on China, China was one of the biggest customers for American farmers. And when Trump put the tariffs on them, went back to March of 2025, they immediately start cutting off and tariffing products going into China. Soybeans was the main thing they wanted from America. So they start sourcing soybeans other places. They still get some American soybeans, but not 100% like they were. They cut off American beef, American pork, American chicken. It's a lot of different people suffering on farms now because of what happened with the tariffs. You understand what I'm saying? Now, Trump, he don't care about you. Trump got his. Listen, Trump in the billionaire class like that, let me tell y'all something. Listen, because I know some white people may listen to this. Listen, white people, I know you're listening, so I'm gonna talk to you straight. This is your fault. Let me tell you why.
I watched this video of this white lady calling out the ICE raids to come and deport a black person. And I was like, does this still exist to date? Like, why will you think like you are in 1970s? Why will you think it is as if it's when the blacks are now being brought to America? This kind of thinking is whatever has paralyzed America. This type of thinking is whatever is making America to fall. The economy is now falling because the only thing people see is racism. They have divided people into classes, into social groups, and into colors. Like, they know that you're black. They know that you're brown. They know that you can do this, you can do that, because of your color. Now, I'm very glad that she had to receive some backlash for whatever she has been doing. most of the time I do say that we've been practicing identity politics for the longest time. That's whatever is paralyzing us years after years. Look at the situation now. Many soybeans farmers are now having a trough because they voted for policies thinking they are going to affect those black people and those undocumented immigrants. Look who is now suffering. They can't sell their soybeans. And China is rooting for Brazil instead of the US farmers. Now, if this happens for a longer time, we are going to see a lot of bankrupt people. Farmers are going to be bankrupt, and so many of them are going to lose the money they used to get when their soybeans were being sold to China. Now, most people, and I mean the MAGA white supporters, went to vote to punish the black man. They went to vote to punish the undocumented immigrants. Most of them never expected that it was going to backfire on them. They went to fight someone who was not fighting them. Now, the fight has turned back to them. Tables have turned around, and see who is now crying. See who is now begging for people to help them. See who is now crying out for bailout because they are going bankrupt. Sometimes they say if you dig a hole or if you dig a grave, make sure you dig yours too, because some things can go wild and some things can turn around and not work for you as you expected. So we are seeing most of the same people who are voting for the same policies to punish the black immigrants or the black community who have been here for the longest are now suffering the same consequences of whatever they wished on other people. Let's not be confused, brothers and sisters. Racists should not have a place in our societies. Racism either should not have a place. See how many people have messed up the economy just because of this same thing. The same people are still suffering from tariffs. Now the soybeans are now rotting in their farms. Most of their farm workers are nowhere. They're not showing up because some of them have been deported, and those who have not been deported, they are having some fear to come out because of ICE rates. And people like this who call the eyes on some of the other people who have not been raided, they have a problem because some of them are very jealous of whatever the black people and the undocumented immigrants have been achieving over time. It is the other day I was talking about black excellence, and I was talking about how immigrants and the black folks have been able to excel and to amass massive wealth for this little time they have been in the US, just because they have been very, very focused on living in an environment where they're not wanted, and an environment which has been so harsh on them. So what do? They have adapted to hardness. They are very, very focused, and they are very hardworking. Most of them do 2 to 3 shifts a day just to pay mortgage, just to pay taxes, and to make sure that they are not suffering in the US. What has happened to the black community? The black community has had a lot of privileges. In fact, this is a group of individuals who have been receiving bailouts whenever their businesses are not doing well. They have been on the soft side of the economy. They have always been favored, and it is now not working anymore. The favors they were receiving, the white supremacy, it is no longer working for them. Most of them are now crying out to the black community. Most of them are also feeling jealousy to the black community because the black community is still thriving under these harsh conditions and harsh economic times. This is because we all know the black community has been here. The environment has never favored the black man. The black man had to do a lot. The black community has seen it all. When they had a leader to talk for them or to talk on their behalf, we have had a government or a system which has come to has actually taken that away from them. When they wanted someone to speak on their behalf, the system didn't allow that to happen. So how do you expect yourself, people who have gone all through these things, to be shaken by a mere tariff, to be shaken by soybeans not being sold somewhere, to be shaken by the skyrocketing prices of goods? Of course, that affects them, but they have seen much worse than that. That's why sometimes they keep their cool and they just keep quiet. And most people will be like, why are they not talking? Why are the black people not actually rendering their voice to this struggle? It is a struggle, yes, you might call it that way, but this is something that you wanted. This is something you voted for. Unlike the black people who have been here for a very long time, receiving all mannerism of police brutality, seeing it all. Now, from the moment they were brought to this land, they have seen worse than they can speak. That most of these systems have oppressed them. And these systems also, the same systems that have seen white supremacy taking place, the same system that has overseen the exploitation of the black community, the same system that has failed to compensate the black community, is now the same system that has brought tariffs, the same system now which is ending actually white privilege. You know, most of the farmers are now crying because they have never seen such a thing. They have been on the safe side. They have been receiving bailouts whenever they are going bankrupt. Whenever their crops have not been doing well, the government has always chipped to help them. On the other side, the black farmers have not been receiving that. In fact, I've been seeing videos where black farmers complain about not being given loans or not being eligible to receive loans just because of their color. This is very dangerous, of course. These things should not have been happening in the 21st century. But the same people who are now crying out to be helped are the same people who went ahead to vote for the same system. What do you expect of a system that was brought in out of hatred for others? A system that won its election just because some people expected them to deport their enemies or to deport those who they do not actually they do not go well in politics. Identity politics is whatever is making you sad today. That's whatever is making you lose a lot of millions of dollars just because you voted thinking all these struggles, all these things that are not worth it, they are going to happen to the undocumented immigrants and to the black community. To your utter surprise, the black community is doing well. Though the undocumented immigrants are being deported, but you can feel the heat because you are now realizing these are the same people who worked in your farms. Who did you expect to work in your farms if the immigrants were being deported or were going to be deported? Most probably, they thought the black community is going to volunteer to work in their farms. But the black community has kept their cool. They are very silent. They are not talking about it. Brothers and sisters, we must unite and we must do whatever it takes to beat corruption, to beat racism, and to make sure that our community is safe from identity politics. Most of these people are suffering from scarcity mentality, that they only think about themselves and anything that affects them. Something that doesn't touch their lives, doesn't affect them, they feel like it is none of their business. Most of them are just talking because it has happened and it is really affecting them. But if that wasn't the case, they could be so quiet at the moment. So let's not be selfish. This is the greatest or the highest level of selfishness that you can do to yourself and your brothers and sisters. Let's not be this wicked. I've seen a lot of times black people begging for unity for a very long time. Now, the people who are begging for unity are now being begged for unity. The black folks are very chilled. They're not talking. They're minding their business. And do you know who is crying? The same person who went to the ballot to vote for a system which is very biased. Now, I don't say Kamala was good. I don't see Democrats or Republicans are good. Be very wise how you vote, because that will affect your life for the next 4 years. Thank you so much.